Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. Do you have a watch by chance?
I have my cell phone.
Can you let me know what time it is, and let me know when 45 minutes comes?
Does anybody really know what time it is?
Yeah, that's a famous song, you know, by a group called Chicago.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, what time is it now? Okay, it's 1:12. All right, perfect. When 2 o'clock gets here, let me know. Can you want to just put it here, and I can use it as a guide, or will it stay on?
Well, it doesn't prop up.
Okay, it's 1:12 now. Perfect.
And
Anyway,
Go ahead.
as I was saying, I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and the lovely Linda Brooks Curtis is back. And also, this is season 10, episode 2. And we have a new set. It's a beautiful set, a piano lawn. So that's going to be fun. And I'll just do a one-on-one with you because you've been gone for weeks, and it's good to have you back. So it'll be fun.
It makes you just want to reach up there and strum that guitar.
Yeah, that's true. The guitar, and that looks like a raccoon or something up on the tree branch there.
I think
I don't know.
To me, it looks like a cross between a squirrel and a kangaroo.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And I like how the piano keys go up that lawn there.
That's just enchanting.
It is. It's just a beautiful set. So this is a perfect set to use for season 10.
Ah.
Oh, you're going to readjust the candles,
Well,
huh?
they don't show up very well, but
Well, they
they're there.
do if you're close to the screen.
Yeah.
You know, if it's like something like this or something like that.
Well, in any case, we don't need them because we are going to entertain with our presence.
Yeah. Well, let
And
me
your
start with the
details.
traditional. Yeah, and we got to talk about that wedding that we had last week, and it will air tonight at 5 o'clock. Harold Fox and Francine Davis got married on this show just last Thursday, September 22nd. And so it will air tonight at 5 o'clock on channel 189. And you have to have charter, though, for those who have charter. It's already on YouTube. Just put Asaph Cafe Season 10 EP1 to see the entire wedding. It was a beautiful wedding, and Pastor Bob was here. And he officiated it, and Valerie McNair, she threw the flowers on the little makeshift aisle we had, and it was just such a lovely service.
And I was supposed to bring the sparkling apple juice, and I didn't get here.
No problem.
But I didn't get the email till after the event.
Well, I didn't have much time to work on this either. It's like spur of the moment.
Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to it. And who is Pastor Bob?
He's a retired Presbyterian minister. He hangs out at the Missoula Senior Center.
What's his last name?
I don't know his last name.
Is it Bob Sure?
It might be real tall,
Bob
slim.
Sure. That's Bob Sure.
Yeah, lanky fella. That was very kind of him to do
He is
that.
88, I believe. Isn't that incredible? That's what happens when you live the right kind of life.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. He said he's done a lot of weddings in his life, but never did one on television. So he'll see himself on TV later on tonight.
Well, we'll look forward to it.
Yeah. 5 o'clock tonight, and then 8:30 Friday tomorrow. It'll repeat again tomorrow night at 8:30.
And aside from having my back problems, I've been busy selling raffle tickets.
Yeah, you can talk about
for
it
the
if you want to.
Missoula Manor Endowment Fund raffle.
Uh-huh.
The top prize was $1,000 cash. Each ticket was $1. And we made over $4,000
Oh, wow, good.
to go toward the endowment fund. We had 53 donated prizes, including one from MCAT.
Uh-huh.
And the top prize, actually, by drawing, went to a woman who had bought one ticket.
Yeah. That's usually how it works. You know, one person will do the one ticket thing and end up winning.
And I was put into a drawing for having sold over almost 4 books.
Yeah.
And so I got that drawing was for a $10 Albertsons gift certificate.
Good for you. Let me ask you a quick
How practical
question.
can you get?
When I want to see what time it is, do I click this button here?
No, just close it and open it.
Oh, close it and open. That's all I needed to know. Thanks. Okay, I just want to keep track of the time. So.
Anxious to get me out of here, huh?
No. I'm glad you're back. So I want to have a quick thank you. Lord, thank you for this day. And Linda being here today, bless this show and bless our time. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
There, thank you. Yeah, you've been missed all these weeks. And I told you, Professor Robert Green at the university, he's been watching this show. So thank you, Professor Green. And he's noticed he's missed you, so I'll send him a note today.
And what's his wife's name?
Oh gosh, I can't think of her name. I can't. I'm brain dead at the moment.
Professor Green and wife, thank you for watching.
Yes.
And we're glad you appreciate the show. And when are you going to be on it again?
He sent me a message. He said it as soon as he can because school started, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know how that goes. When I was teaching at the College of Southern Nevada, you know, it was super busy, especially the first part of each semester. So that is more than understandable. So he's going to be here mañana?
I don't know. I wish. I told Professor Green he can come anytime he wants.
Just drop by. Y'all are welcome.
Mañana. I like that song. And it's always fun playing that for you too. Oh, speaking of mañana, well, not literally tomorrow, but in the near future, I'm getting ready to play at the mall soon. And I'm also getting ready to play at the Patty Creek Market soon.
Very good.
Yeah, about a week or so from now, something like that, a week or two. So that'll be kind of fun. I get to do a lot of playing this particular holiday season. And can you believe it? This is my 6th year playing at the mall.
Time flies.
Yeah, or is it my 7th year? Let's see. When did I start?
That means you're appreciated.
Yeah, well, that's what you want when you're a piano player. And I'm really humbled that the community, like the mall and Patty Creek Market and all these other organizations would think enough of me to allow me to play in their stores or mall or whatever. I just wanted to express my thank yous to all of them. I'm going to play Madam Butterfly. These keys are hard to push down.
Puccini really created atmosphere in that song. You can just see it happening.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do it. I did it at home.
It's been a while since I've done the whole thing. I'll do the whole thing. It's a beautiful song. That's such a sad story, you know.
Oh, it is. And it's especially memorable when you have a Japanese coloratura soprano singing it.
Yeah.
What's her name, Suma?
I can't think of a name at the moment. I'm getting to the conclusion of it. These keys are hard to push down, so I can't really do it like I really want. Isn't that pretty?
It is very, well, it tells a story,
Yeah.
and it's looking forward to a triumphant reunion.
Yeah. It doesn't turn out that way
But
though.
it doesn't, which doesn't materialize.
The entire piece, my version, Madame Butterfly. Let's talk about that for a second. That's such a sad opera. My understanding of that opera, Colonel Pinkerton was the military man that had the relationship with Madame Butterfly, and I think, if I remember correctly, he leaves Japan, he goes back to the States, and Madame Butterfly is left behind, and she thinks that she's never going to see him again, and that he's never going to come back. And when she ends her life, right when she's about to pass away, he shows up in her room. Isn't that sad? He had come back. He had come back for her, and she didn't know that. And when he gets to that high note, that part, that's when she's dying. At that part, see.
Well, another aspect is that because of her relationship with him, her family cut off contact with her and disowned her.
You know, speaking of being disowned, did you see the movie The Joy Luck Club by chance? They had a scene very similar to that.
I didn't see the movie. I've read portions of the book.
Yeah, I think Amy Tan is the the creator, the author. But in the movie version, there's a scene where, oh, how can I explain it? This lady gets disowned by her family because her husband had died, and she took up with this rich man. And so the family thought she didn't have enough time to grieve. So they just totally disowned her. And so there was a scene where even though the mother had disowned her daughter, when the mother lay dying, the daughter showed up anyway, and it ticked off the relatives who remembered. So they had their nose all bent out of shape and everything. And the reason the daughter came back is because they had a tradition where they would cut themselves, and they would pour the blood into a dish and give the blood to the dying person. So the daughter was trying to save the life of the mother, even though the mother had disowned her. Only in the movies, right?
Well,
And so then after the mom drinks the blood and everything, instead of the relatives saying thank you for coming back, they brought up the thing that you dishonored your husband by marrying that rich man. Get out of here. And so the daughter wanted to see her daughter, because the younger daughter never got to go with her mother when they disowned the mother. So the mother's daughter just thought she didn't have a mom, and so she sees her mom there, and she decides she want to go with her mother instead of stay with her relatives. That ticked off the relatives even more. So the mom goes back to the mansion. She brings her daughter. It's just such a sad, touching movie, kind of like Madame Butterfly in a way. So that's why I was sharing that scene about being disowned.
well, there's been a lot of senseless cruelty along that line in terms of relationships.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was impressed by, or absolutely confounded by, is the true account of a missionary to the Congo
Okay.
who told about how women in that Islamic culture have no family rights, no status, no right to their children, and once the child dies, they have no right to the burial or contact, and the family just disowns them.
Yeah, that's that culture.
It's it's pretty hard to take. They have no rights of property or anything.
I'll have to show you that movie sometime. I think you'll really like it.
Oh, I know I would, because I've read, several things by Amy Tan.
Yeah. This movie got a lot of awards too.
Oh, yes, it did. I remember that.
It did. I think it got like 3 or 4 awards or something like.
Well, that was at the time that I was teaching high school during the day and college at night. And I didn't have a lot of time to go to movies and not a lot of spending money to rent them. So I missed lots of things, even though I've seen highlights, and read reviews. So yes, I'd like to see that. Definitely.
I'll show it to you sometime.
Okay. And what a wonderful world it is today. Here we are.
Oh yeah.
Almost in October. This morning it was kind of a misty, moisty, cool morning. So I thought, this is turtleneck weather. Boy, was I wrong. And so here I am in my turtleneck, which reminds me a little bit of the fall. Kind of a almost pumpkin color.
There you go. Well, anyway, getting back to that, I won't give out the whole plot line, but basically on that Joy Luck Club, what it is it tells the story of these 4 Asian women that have been part of the Joy Luck Club for 30 years, and of course they went on to have children. So it's telling the story of the 4 Asian women, what their lives were like when they were young, and they have flashbacks that they go back in time in the film. And so all 4 of these ladies basically were raised the Chinese way. So when they had their children, they wanted to raise their children the American way. But even though their children were raised the American way, they wound up doing all the Chinese things as though they were raised Chinese. That was the premise of the film at the beginning. And so the main character of the original 4 ladies, I think her name is Sue Lin or something like that. Before she married, she was supposed to marry when she was a younger woman, and the war broke out, which ended that, and she had 2 babies, and she wasn't going to be able to care for these babies during wartime, so she abandoned the 2 babies and left a note for somebody to find them and so on. The 2 babies wound up being picked up. They don't show it, but because they cut to the future with the lady who had abandoned the 2 babies, and she got a note that said the 2 babies had survived the war and they were grown up. Because the lady that abandoned the babies went on to get married to somebody else instead of the man she was supposed to originally marry, and went on to have a daughter who was Americanized but acted more Chinese. So that's how the movie starts out. And it goes through each episode of the 4 ladies' lives in the Joy Luck Club. What happened to them when they were younger and stuff like that. It's quite a movie. It's just really just such a touching movie. And then after it tells the story of the 4 original ladies in the Joy Luck Club, then it tells the story about their children, what their lives were like. So.
And it also presents reverence for life.
Yeah.
In that foundlings, if they're left for somebody that can better care for them, often do have good, productive lives. Whereas if you had to keep them when you couldn't care for them and had no resources, they might not have done so well.
Yeah.
So I think that it's really, there's a real strong need still for adoptions.
Yeah.
That's something I always wanted to do, but
Adopt?
I always wanted to do either that or foster care. But I was never in a position to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So, but that's really a fine thing to do. If you're a good foster parent.
Well,
not just
here's a
people who
story
take advantage of it for the
that might
money.
interest you. I never had children, as you know, but you remember the story I told you about that girl, Gracia, that I
Sponsored.
sponsored? She just turned 18 last month. And even though I don't have any children, it's almost like having a daughter because I sponsored that girl for 6 years from the time she was 4 years old. And I told you her parents took her off the Compassion International program, and I thought I'd never hear from her again. And a year later, her older sister saw me on Facebook. She went home, told her sister, and told her parents, "Hey, that piano player from Montana's on Facebook." And that's how I got reacquainted with her. And she started writing me again through Facebook instead of the letters. And now she has turned 18 years old.
And where was she from again?
Peru.
Peru.
Yeah, Gracia. In fact, she just sent me a note a couple days ago thanking me for helping her and her family, and I'm really, really humbled by that, you know, helping them. And now she's grown, and I've seen pictures of her as an adult woman now. She'll go on to get married and probably have kids one day, and it's just a wonderful thing. You know, you just do one thing for one person, it spreads. It's like a ripple effect, you know? It just
definitely
spreads.
is. Definitely.
And I am extremely humbled to have had the opportunity in a small way to help this girl grow up, because the money I was sending her at the time, it would go for dental care and school things like pencils, paper, you know, when she was growing up. And they had like some sort of I guess a facility for kids to play after school. They were learning about Christ and God and the Bible while she was growing up through Compassion International. And they were teaching them hygiene and all that stuff at the time. That's where some of that money went. But now that she's grown, she can take care of herself now. But she blossomed into a beautiful young woman. And I saw some pictures of her. Her hair's real long. She's all slim and like most 18-year-olds.
Now I'm going to get on my soapbox about charitable organizations.
Well,
like
some are not as good as.
Compassion
Well, Compassion was good.
International
Yeah.
and Samaritan's Purse, who actually help people
Oh yeah.
and who actually do what they collect money for. Some of those people, well, the Presbyterian Church International is one group that has gone to the Congo, and of course I met Ruth Brown, who spoke to us about her experiences there.
Yeah.
And they were helping people to learn about hygiene, sanitation, clean water, things that we take for granted here, infrastructure, actually owning something, gradually owning something yourself by working toward it, because the foreign aid money that we sent just gets pocketed by the top politicians, and they use it for themselves instead of using it to help their country. So American taxpayer money going through foreign aid isn't doing what it's supposed to do. Instead, volunteer organizations are doing that.
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, it was very rewarding for me to see Gracia grow up in a way through Compassion International. And I have some of her little drawings put away when she was like probably 5 or 6. You know how children scribble out of the lines because they're learning? I kept all those and all the letters I used to get postal mail. And they would have the letter that I wrote and then translate it in Spanish, and then the letter she write me, they had the Spanish version and the English version translated on the same letter and stuff. And now she's all grown up, and
That's really wonderful.
yeah. Now I don't think I would ever want to sponsor a child again, not because I don't care, but after the emotion, it's the emotional aspect. All those years watching this girl grow up, I don't want to put myself through that again. I think that instead of sponsoring a child, if I were rich enough, I'd maybe make a big contribution to, say, Compassion International or something like that, and just let somebody else do it. Because it was really an emotional thing, going through all those years of sending money and watching this girl grow up and hearing about the transitions in her life and what they were going through in that part of the world. I don't want to go through that again. I just don't. And so I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm just being honest. I don't want to go through that again. I got to see one person grow up, and I'll be rewarded as far as knowing that there's a person out there that will have a life, not because of me, but you know what I mean. Taking a small part.
Well,
In
if
their
I
life.
had won more than $10 in the Missoula Manor raffle,
Mm-hmm.
if I had won 1,000,
Yeah.
I would like to have gone to Provo, Utah for Thanksgiving to visit my son and daughter-in-law and new.
Is that where they moved to? Utah? They're
they
living there?
live in Utah, Provo.
JD's there too? Your granddaughter?
Rusty and Megan and JD and Brogan, and they're having a daughter who will be born at Thanksgiving time.
Wow, good for them.
So, but I don't have the money to go, so I will just have to continue the internet exchange, and they send me pictures and videos, and I believe I forwarded.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it.
JD's little recital where
I saw that, yeah.
she played 20 memorized songs, and she is 7.5.
Yeah. I remember when she was here on this show. It was nice having her. I'm really glad to hear that.
And Brogan's big thing now is, Grandma, I have a slingshot.
Well, yeah.
I can ride a bike.
Well, yeah, when you're that young and you learn to ride a bike, that's exciting. That's an exciting thing.
It is.
Well, I'm really glad I got to meet part of your family at that time and have JD playing. And I think she played Chopsticks, didn't she? If I remember that correctly?
Might have been a couple other songs too.
Or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It was one of those songs.
I think it might have been Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Yeah, I remember that. So I can only imagine she's getting better and better and better and better. So good for her. But I did see the pictures you sent. And she looks so cute. And she's growing a little bit too now.
A little bit.
Yeah, I noticed. I have to notice. She grew a little bit. So that's way cool. Way
Her
cool.
mother, she takes after her mother quite a bit, Megan. And Megan is short and very small, about my height.
Oh, yeah.
And she's always been a kind of a diminutive size, tiny. So JD will probably be like that.
Here's your time song.
The what?
Time song. What time is it? Anybody know what time it is?
Know what time it is.
By a group called Chicago.
Who doesn't remember Chicago?
You'd be surprised.
Well, I suppose millennials, not so much.
Yeah. I'll do it again. These keys are really hard to push down.
Well, during August, I enjoyed church picnics, and the day that we had baptisms in the river. They were baptized at church.
Uh-huh.
This is 12-year-old communicants, which in the Presbyterian Church is the age of reason, so that you can study the principles and, pledge to them. And so they had their regular baptisms in the sanctuary in the
I
church.
see.
And then later, they were rebaptized down at the Clark Fork River.
Oh, wow.
So those were joyous times, and of course, having a great social outing with friends.
Okay. Cool.
One young man decided he wanted to come to sing along at Missoula Manor so that he could sing with all the people who find it meaningful to sing worship hymns
Uh-huh.
is 90, love singing. And they remember the words, and most of the time they can even hit the pitch.
Cool.
Which is, so that proves that that is one prevailing spiritual outlet for people.
I'll do an old hymn. Do you remember George Beverly Shea? I watched him last night on the computer.
I remember that he was a powerful singer.
Oh, he was, oh my goodness.
To hear him sing How Great Thou Art was really splendid.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, I also got to go in early August to the Franklin Graham Prayer Rally in Helena.
How was that?
It was tremendous. There were, several thousand people gathered on the lawn and steps of the Capitol.
Uh-huh.
And he spoke, and there was a single musician who did his own guitar work. And everybody sang, no words posted, everybody knew the words, several hymns and national songs, and it was just a prayer for our nation and for people in public office, and the police, and
So they weren't like trying to
unity.
politicize anybody or
No parties or candidates were pushed.
Okay.
It was just, Lord, we need wisdom, we need your presence.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad that they just kept it where it was like neutral, as far as they weren't saying, we want you to vote for this guy. They're just praying and seeking the Lord. That's good.
Well, and of course, another part to that is that Franklin Graham is the founder of Samaritan's Purse.
Yeah. Did he talk about Samaritan's Purse during that time?
Very little, very little.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad you got to see that. That must have been pretty cool to actually witness that.
It wasn't a fundraiser, it was
No, I know, I
for
understand, but
people
just-
to contribute their spiritual
Yeah, and just pray. I get
presence
yeah.
and
Mhm.
prayers.
Yeah.
And there was one section that was particularly inspiring. It was a prayer time, and most people had not thought to bring lawn chairs.
Okay.
So this is people just standing there.
Mhm.
And for about 3 minutes, people were just supposed to pray aloud their own prayers.
Oh, just anyone, just at
Not
random, huh?
a unison prayer, not anything that was read from a script, their own individual impromptu prayers.
Well, those are some of the
So I
good
thought
prayers.
it was very powerful.
Yeah, because that comes from the heart when it's impromptu, whatever on the inside,
Good old Cole Porter.
Yeah. And we're almost out of time. This is doing by really quickly, too. Oh, these keys.
Do you do In the Still of the Night too?
I had to work on it again, but I can. I'm going to conclude this here instead of do the whole thing.
And that's another good movie that is fairly true, fairly accurate, is the biography of Cole Porter that came out several years ago.
Speaking of biographies, I have this VHS in my collection. Frank Sinatra. It's like a 2-hour thing. Chronicles his birth through his whole career. It's pretty cool. All his movies. I don't know who the biographer was, but it's pretty cool. So.
Did I tell you that I met Jilly Ritsu,
No, you
who
didn't.
was his, I guess his agent
Oh, you mean when you were working in Vegas?
When I was in Vegas, I just showed up. I wanted to watch a talent showcase
Mm-hmm.
and, get some ideas for things that I might do in showcases. And it was kind of interesting. It was 2 years after I had been mugged and my face was all in stitches and nose cast and eye surgery and nose surgery and all that. And I had just, before I went out for the evening, I just took a shower, washed my hair and conditioned it, and pulled it up on top of my head, and went and sat in the background of this showcase audience. I think it was at the Palace Station, and the proprietor of Palace Station noticed me, and Julie Ritsu noticed me, and I had coffee with them. And
Oh, cool.
He gave me his card. I don't know. I certainly didn't look compelling, and I wasn't one of the performers. And I thought they would be focusing on the performers. Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That was how much of a miracle it was after having been mugged and having my face virtually destroyed
Yeah.
to attracting notice.
Well,
when
I am
wasn't
so
even a
sorry that
performer.
that dark thing happened in your life at that time.
Well, at the time, I was very angry with the police
Yeah.
because when they interrogated me, I felt they were very racist, and it just made my blood boil. And I kept telling, they'd say, well, what do you want out of this guy?
Mhm.
They don't have anything. It was very racist to see
Really?
maybe if they could get something racist out of me.
Was it because of you being a woman, you think that? That's
Well, no, it was because the person was black.
it? Oh.
And I guess they wanted me to say something racist, and I just would not. And I kept telling them it wasn't because he was black, it was because he was a criminal.
Yeah, I got you. I
Either
got you.
he had
And
just
they were trying to. Yeah, I
happened
get
to
it.
do
yeah.
that,
Uh-huh.
and happened to be in my apartment complex right behind my assigned space, or he had been hired, but he was a criminal. I have lots of friends who are black.
Yeah.
And but that was Las Vegas in the 70s.
I know.
And I don't believe there is racism like that. I think all of these Black Lives Matter things are totally produced for divide and conquer issues. They're not really valid. If people want to complain about the police being racist, then why are they criminals in the first place? I mean, why are they committing criminal acts?
Well, I look at it like this. I think that both sides need work. If you want to get down, I mean, from my point of view. And I know there are good police officers out there. I know that.
Well,
But there are bad, because I've had my share with the LAPD when I was in Los Angeles. I've had
Well-
my share of issues with them.
I
And I'm the most harmless African American person on the planet. And really, I've had some really uncomfortable experiences with them. But at the same time, I guess if you have a job where you're constantly under pressure like that, that could probably cause that too.
Well, I had a strange experience when I was living in Los Angeles. I was driving on the freeway. My car was rear-ended,
Mhm.
and we were pulled over by the police. And I finally went to small claims court. The person who was driving the car that rear-ended me was driving a stolen vehicle without a license and under the influence of something.
Yeah.
And I finally got a court order for small claims court, but I would have to pay the marshal to deliver it because he lived in Watts.
I see.
And I chickened out on that, and I also didn't want to deliver it myself. I didn't have the money for that. So anyway, when I lived in downtown Los Angeles, parking spots on the street were like gold. and there weren't any parking spots or a parking garage or anything for the residents I lived in. So you'd have to move your car every time that side of the street was cleaned. And I was sick with the flu one day, didn't move my car
Right.
so that they could clean around it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was no excuse. I went ahead and paid the ticket and was driving on the freeway a few months later, and the police pulled me over, handcuffed me, took me to the Burbank police station, fingerprinted me, dumped out my purse.
Boy, does that sound familiar.
And I called my voice teacher because that's where I was on my way over for that, and I had $20 in my purse because I was going to buy birthday presents for my brothers and get them in the mail. And I called my teacher. I said, I'm not going to be at my voice lesson. And I told her why, and she said, Abraham will be right there to pick you up. So by the time her husband arrived in his big blue, sky blue Cadillac, I was sitting on the curb like this, literally.
Yeah.
And I had paid the $20 I had in my possession just to be released. It was for a parking ticket that I had already paid.
Yeah. They'll fix the system one day, I hope.
And so I went to court on that too. And because I had been arrested. And so it was acknowledged that I had paid it, and they just didn't have the correct records. But it was because my car, the back of it was messed up because this guy had hit me.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so I got to the judge, and he had already reviewed everything, and everything was good to go.
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, what do you want? You know, we've proven that this wasn't true. You were falsely arrested. And I said, well, I want the record cleared. I want a refund. And I want proof of that. And the judge just stamped everything. He said, you'll get your refund in the mail within 6 weeks, and no apology.
Yeah,
No-
that's usually how it is.
No information.
You go through hell and then
about
they just
whether
send you on your way
record will be
home,
cleared.
yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
to me, that wasn't racist, but I was treated badly by the police
Yeah.
at their mistake.
But you know, to sum this up, there is good and bad on both sides. There's good and bad in the law enforcement, and there's good and bad in the people in the public. That's the way I see
we need police.
it. Yeah, I know,
We
I
need
agree.
laws. We
I
need
agree.
law-abiding citizens.
I
And if
agree with that, too.
people weren't doing the wrong things in the first place, they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be.
And I understand. That's why I'm saying both sides. See, that I'm not defending Black lives necessarily. I just see both sides, and I think both sides needs to be fixed and cleaned. And you're right. If people wouldn't do the bad things that some people do, they wouldn't get themselves in the predicaments that they're in.
And the other thing that
And
is
stuff. So there's two sides of that.
horrifying about the inefficiency of big government is the giving citizenship to 1,800 people who had been in line for deportation for criminal activities.
Well, they'll fix it. Oh, on a brighter note, real quick, because we're almost out of time. Let me tell you about the wedding real quick again. I don't know if you ever met Harold or not. Real big fella, real tall.
I probably haven't.
Well, anyway, it was just one of the most beautiful services that I've seen in a long time. And it was good for MCAT because this is the first wedding that MCAT's ever had here at their studio in their 26-year history.
Well,
So that was good for them
that
from
doesn't
that point
surprise
of view.
me.
Well, that was good for them.
Yes.
And then, of course, I'm humble because they did it on my show.
Yes.
And that was not my idea. I wouldn't even thought of that. It was the fiance's idea.
Super.
Yeah. And so I just said, Pastor
5
Bob was
p.m.
here.
tonight on MCAT.
Yeah, the wedding.
Channel
the entire,
189 on Charter.
Yeah, the entire wedding will be on tonight and tomorrow night at 8:30. And Harold was clean shaven and he wore a nice shirt, pants, and Francine had a really nice dress. And they exchanged their vows and their rings and stuff, and it was fun. And Valerie did a wonderful job, helped setting up. And you know, it was impromptu. I mean, we didn't rehearse or anything. I mean, I found out about this wedding like less than a week. I didn't have much time to prepare for it either.
So it was impromptu and heartfelt.
Yeah, that's what made it, I think, wonderful. And I couldn't be more proud of those two. And as I shared, it's got over 150 views and hasn't even aired yet on television, you know, with the YouTube and stuff, and a bunch of thumbs up. And they have some still pictures. I just got the still pictures. I'll have to send them to you. You know, the still picture version of the entire service.
Yes.
Yeah, that's been captured.
Super.
We had those two couches right over here, and we had a small little audience and stuff. And we had the couches angled a little bit so that they can see me and I could see them. And Louise was here too last week, and she looked really lovely.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and
I'm glad she made it.
she was here last week too.
She's a nice lady.
Oh gosh, she's the nicest lady. She is just the most classiest lady I've ever known. Everybody
Very
that's ever
classy.
meets her has said that about her.
Oh,
She's just a
definitely.
real elegant, classy lady. And she'll be going home eventually, going back to California eventually. Everybody's going to miss her when she finally goes back home.
Meanwhile, they don't miss her at the DoubleTree because she's there.
Yeah, except for she won't be there today because she's going to California for about a weekend or something to see family. She's leaving later on this. In fact, I think she left this morning. You know, the flight. I think it was supposed to go to. I think she said Salt Lake or something, and then switch over. So she'll be gone for a few days. She should be back by Monday night or something. And that's wonderful.
Oh, I forgot to put in a plug for National Coffee Day.
What is National? I never heard of it.
National Coffee Day. I don't know, somebody somewhere just decided
this today, National Coffee
should
Day?
be designated as National Coffee Day, and some businesses are giving free coffee. I think Krispy Kreme Donuts is with the
Here in
purchase-
town?
With the purchase of a donut, you get free coffee.
You want to go get some free coffee after? We're going to be signing off in about 5 minutes.
Well, I might. We'll
Okay.
see. But
Okay. Well, I'm going to go home with, or partly home
and the
with you
thing
anyway.
was, coffee was not known in the Western Christian world until after the Battle of Vienna in 1683.
Oh, wow.
That's fairly recent.
Yeah.
The Turkish had coffee before that.
Mm-hmm. I see. Well, I like coffee. You know, I had a cup this morning, in fact.
Well, that's what I'm having right now.
Yeah. But, you know, I like the really good coffee, like the Starbucks and stuff, but it's just so expensive. If you get that all the time, you can go broke real fast. Drinking 2 and 3 cups a day of Starbucks at $5 a piece or whatever.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, that can get pretty pricey. I know it's really, really good.
Well, I like to go to the break on
Mhm.
Higgins in Missoula
Uh-huh.
and get my shot in the dark.
Oh, let me do that for you.
Shot of espresso in regular black
Shot
coffee.
in the dark.
And I suppose Joel is telling us we are late.
No,
so
we're
we need
okay.
to sign off.
Not yet. We got a few more minutes.
Oh, okay. Now that's from the Peter whatever movie,
Yeah,
right?
the Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers.
And I'm gonna stop right there. Shot in the dark. Well, any final things you want to say?
Everybody have a beautiful week, and remember it's Thankful Thursday. So
Yeah,
when
National
you
Coffee
remember
Day.
the things that you are thankful for, other good things come your way.
Good. And this is season 10, episode 2, and I'm glad I got to do this one-on-one with the lovely Linda Briggs Curtis again. She's been well missed. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and congratulations to Harold and Francine, and
Congratulations.
yeah, and I'm thankful to Joel Barrett and the MCAT staff, Scott Ram, for everybody that helped put that wedding together. It was
And
a
enjoy
wonderful wedding.
Indian summer.
Yeah. And on that note, until our next show, Maranatha.
God be with you.
Freeze right on that chord.